Arts and Culture Minister Nathi Mthethwa will today launch the Human Rights Month at Kgosi Mampuru Museum in Pretoria. Human Rights Day, which is celebrated on the 21st of this month, was first marked in 1994 to commemorate the Sharpeville Massacre. In 1960, 69 protesters were killed by apartheid police in Sharpeville while protesting against past laws. Let's bring into the conversation the Executive Director of the Human Rights Institute of South Africa, that's Corlett Letlojane, who joins us via our video link this morning. Corlett, it's great to have you with us on the program this morning. And this discussion, of course, is all the more poignant with what is unfolding internationally in the Ukraine and Russia saga. But when we ask the question here at home about how far we've come insofar as human rights commemoration is concerned, in the daily lives of our people, how do we answer that question?
Good morning, Michelle. Thank you for having us. I think it becomes very difficult and complicated for us to answer it in a very free manner. Yeah. Because the rights that are enshrined in the Constitution have not been realized in terms of practical implementation and in terms of practical enjoyment and enforcement. We have seen that there's been violations of rights by those that are responsible to protect and promote them and fulfill them. We have seen society being divided, the confusion that has happened within the leadership that is now spreading outside, and the socio-economic right, which has been the right that was violated even during apartheid era. We do have a mechanism in the country which facilitates this fulfillment of this right, which is freedom of association and assembly, the right that we celebrate on an annual basis under the Sharpeville Massacre. The massacre of Sharpeville has really created a very important environment for us in the Constitution and in our lives. However, we still are not able to realize fulfillment of that right, because that right is a right that facilitates enforcement of economic and social rights. This is your freedom of expression, freedom of association and assembly. Exercising this right has been one of the bad results in our country in terms of how law enforcement, facilitate exercise of this right.
Yeah, in a context where we are the most unequal society in the world, insofar as so many of our people are still living below the breadline, it's impossible to answer the question around how far we've come insofar as human rights are concerned in South Africa.
It's very, very impossible. It's very difficult. We even losing track of who we are, what rights, we have as citizens. It seems like, what is really protected or safeguarded in the Constitution, there is a second guess, there is a second review, reflection, and feeling that, we have given so much fundamental rights to the citizens to the extent that maybe we need to remove some of the rights, because it does not make sense. When we have a situation like service delivery protests, we need to realize that this situation could have been dealt with, it could have been addressed from the very basic platforms or mechanisms that have been created that could have not led to breaking down of the rule of law. For example, where rights such as provision of water, for example, provision of infrastructure for electricity, roads, and building of schools. There are budgets that are earmarked for conducting such services or delivering that right. However, we have become a very corrupt society. The corrupt society from leadership, from the government level institutions to the ground. We find that people, citizens, they even feel that the way to freedom or the way to survive in life is by connecting ourselves with some leaders, with some associated to be connected with certain people in government. And in that way, I'll be able to secure a tender. And once that arrives in my hands, I can get away with it and do as I wish. So I think the citizens have also lost focus. They've lost confidence, if I may say that, of believing or, depending on the letter and the spirit of the Constitution and all the legal frameworks that we have, because we seem to have stumbling blocks. We seem to be having this other culture that has been created, the culture of division, the culture of distraction, the culture that seems to have been allowed to the extent that law enforcement sometimes fail us. They will be there watching, they will be there, participating or, like allowing some of the breakdown of the rule of law to happen in the country. Now, citizens has got a duty and responsibility as well to contribute in building this culture of human rights, to be the champions of the Constitution. The Constitution is our identity. It characterizes who we are and our terrain, where we are going. And without guidelines from the principle of the Constitution, we'll become a lawless country or citizens, and will condone corruption. Where we are now, we have lost billions and billions of rands, due to corruption and due to all these double standards that we decide to follow or to condone. And it's very unfortunate, because the people on the ground, the citizens on the ground, who are the poor of the poorest, who have been waiting for the delivery or to realize this constitutional dispensation, suffer most. Yeah. Look at pollution in our community, where there is no people, although the right to live in a healthy and a conducive environment to their health. It's something that is written in paper. We've seen that children are even, live in risk environment where their health are exposed to, health disposables that are right in front of their community. They are working in bridges that are really not well maintained. When we have floods, when we have a situation such as climate change, which has been one of the distractions of our country, lack of education, lack of information, lack of understanding and cooperation, and collaborating with government institutions. It's something that we also need to continue pushing, collaborating and encouraging that we go back to all those years of apartheid when we are advocating for this right, that we continue to be consistent in ensuring that those gaps are closed and we achieve the rights that we have, not only in paper, but we realize and we enjoy it.
Yeah, certainly. It brings into question days like today, the launch of Human Rights Month by the Arts and Culture Minister. Just everything that you've said brings into question the usefulness of marking the month in such a way. But Corlett, Letlojane, let me thank you for your time this morning. She is the Executive Director of the Human Rights Institute of South Africa.